Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium, a group of therapists, college professors, and well-published peer-reviewed authors. Today, we're going to discuss the question is communication difficult? And the simple answer is it's extremely difficult. People fail to recognize how extremely difficult it is. You know what you think you said, or you think you know what you said. You certainly know what you meant to say. But what did you really say? Someone talks to you. You're listening intently on their words. You think you know what they said. But did they mean something different? Was your interpretation something other than what they meant? And when you speak to someone, do you likewise miscommunicate? Is what you're saying not what is coming across or being perceived by the other person? Have you ever been in an argument with someone, and maybe 10, 15 minutes into the argument, you suddenly realize that you took something the wrong way, or they took you the wrong way, and you both realize you're not arguing over anything, you both agree. After 15 minutes, you say, oh, wait a minute, did you mean this? Oh, well then, what are we arguing about? I agree with you. Communication is very difficult, but it is essential. Communication is something you need to work on. You need to recognize when you're speaking that what you're saying may not be due to your fault, your inabilities, or the inabilities of the listener. What you're trying to say may not be coming across. That's important, very important. Recognizing the difficulty of communication will make it such that you will strive to communicate more fully. You will think about what you're saying. You will listen to those words, just recognizing that you may not be correctly perceiving the words of another person will make you listen harder. Just recognizing that you may not be completely clear in what you're trying to say to another person will make you strive to speak better, to look for acceptance, realization in the eyes of the other individual. You can challenge the other party, meaning you can question them. You can say to them, do you mean this? Did you mean the other thing? I took it this way. Is that what you're trying to say? But blindly assuming that what you're saying is being correctly perceived by another person is a terrible mistake. One should assume that what you're saying is likely to be misinterpreted. One should assume that you would be lucky if what you were trying to say is correctly perceived by another person. You need to be ready to make adjustments. It may be your fault that you're poor in communicating, or it may be the fault of the other person, that they don't understand things really well or as easily as you do, or they have a problem with certain concepts. If you're going to have a meaningful conversation with someone, talking about something of relevance and importance, maybe even great importance, but something of significance, you might even write it down. You might write a letter to this person, begin to type an email, because when you read it, it may not say, it may reveal to you that it did not say what you meant it to say. If it's of greater significance, you might even wait until the next day to read what you wrote. Read it the next day. Even the next day, little bit of time away will help you to see what it was that you actually communicated. Chances are you will rewrite it. No author writes something one time and is satisfied. They'll write it, oftentimes rewrite it 5 minutes after they've written it, rewrite it again the next day and subsequent days and months later, fine-tuning everything. And these are professional communicators. They make their living communicating, and they work very hard on what they're bringing across. When you're having an argument or even a discussion or a disagreement, keep in mind, you may not know what's really going on here. Not due to any type of ignorance, but just due to the difficulty with which concepts and ideas and feelings are communicated. They're communicated with great difficulty. It's not easy. Be ready to make a change. Look at the other person. Does it look like they understand what you're saying? Question them. You may find out you're both talking about two different things. As I said, there is no good way to learn to be a better communicator. So the important thing is to recognize that you may not be and likely are not the communicator that you think you are. You must allow for the fact that you are miscommunicating, that the other person may be misinterpreting what you're saying. You may not be saying it very well. And that cautiousness, that awareness of the inadequacies of communication, of language, will be enough to greatly improve the communication. So it's a two-way street. You might not say it the right way. You may not have chosen the right words. The other party may not have interpreted the right words. You spoke the right words, but they didn't interpret it that way. It could well be because of some psychological issue they've carried forward, some psychological ill health that they carry with them everywhere. Maybe they interpret everything in a negative fashion, as a put down. Maybe they have such a poor interpretation of themselves, an impression of their overall being, that they can't accept anything good that you tell them about themselves. And they will assume you're lying. And now they're looking for the motive, the conspiracy theory. Why are you lying to them? Because you said something nice and you meant it. And you're telling the truth. But they can't see it that way, because they only see negativity when they think of themselves. Whatever the reason is, you need to be aware of it. Communication is both things. You saying it correctly and them interpreting it correctly. And if both things occur, communication has occurred. But if anything goes wrong, it's a very negative situation and can cause trouble. It can stop people from wanting to talk, because they'll say, every time we talk, it ends up in an argument. But you need to communicate. You need to produce a oneness in a relationship. You need to communicate. And all I'm pointing out to you is it's not easy. People don't think about it, but it isn't easy. And if you're aware of the difficulty, you think of it this way. You're talking to someone. And so let's say you're on the phone and it's a poor connection. There's static and dropouts and echoes. The communication now will be very difficult over the phone line. Well, you need to recognize that when you're in person talking to someone, there is always a bad connection. After many good years of communicating in a relationship, it becomes better and better, the communication. Still, there can be problems, but there are far fewer problems. There are books written on the subject, many books on communication. I don't know that they recognize the problem, but I don't know that they provide a solution because communication is difficult. I mean, you can become aware of it, which I'm trying to do here, make you aware of it. But the person you're speaking to, each one's different. Maybe 9 people out of 10 would understand exactly what you're saying because you're that good of a speaker, of a communicator. But it might be that your partner, the person that you're speaking to that's important to you, is the 10th person out of 10. Not 9 out of 10, they would get you, but the 10th out of 10 doesn't, and that's your partner. You need to recognize that. You can go to an objective third party. You could go to a therapist to help interpret what you're trying to say, or help the other party to more correctly interpret your words. Or it could be a minister. It just needs to be someone objective. Or just be aware of it. Listen to your own words. Even tape record conversations. Do it on your phone. Tape record it and listen to it. And see if your words, especially if you listen to it the next day or a week later, did your words say what you thought they said or what you meant them to say? And did the other person recognize it? And if so, to what extent? This can help you in a relationship. If you really understood what I've been saying to you or trying to say to you, it could make a big difference in your life and in your relationships with your children, with your siblings, and with your life partner. Okay, I hope it helped a little. If you have any more questions, please email them, put them in the comments, and we will get to them, and we'll be glad to do it. So, we will meet again the next time we post.